Hello and welcome back to the David67 Celtic News YouTube channel. Today's video going to be a preview of tomorrow afternoon's Celtic against St Johnstone Scottish Cup Semi-Final. A game if Celtic win will take us through to the final, which will be at the end of May, and hopefully by mid-afternoon next Saturday we also will have gained a point or better against Dundee United at Tannadice, which will secure yet another league title for us. And so at the end of May, we should hopefully add yet another Scottish Cup and yet another treble to add to Celtic's trophy cabinet. In today's video, we're going to have a wee look at my predicted lineup, predicted score for tomorrow's game against St Johnstone. We run through of some interesting stats regarding Celtic against St Johnstone matches, and there are also some previous goals from Celtic against St Johnstone semi-finals and cup matches. And as we go through, we'll touch on one or two wee bits of news stories as we go. Brendan Rodgers in his press conference yesterday afternoon, nothing terribly exciting, confirmed that Yang and Schmeichel both remain out injured, and Dane Murray is also out injured. And so those three players won't be in the squad, but it would appear that Celtic otherwise have a full squad apart from those three. Brendan Rodgers touched on one or two other issues, nothing terribly interesting. He kind of poured cold water on the Greg Taylor story. Quite a number of stories bubbled up that Celtic had offered Greg Taylor an even better new contract just recently, increasing the amount of money per week that he was going to be getting. Brendan Rodgers implied that there hadn't been any new extra negotiations. However, Celtic remained very open to Greg Taylor staying for another 4 years or so, and it would appear that the contract, etc., remains on the table for Greg Taylor to take or not take, and it does appear that it is Taylor's decision to leave rather than Celtic not wanting him to stay. I also think it's quite unusual that a lot of people who, for the last year or two, have been saying that Greg Taylor's not good enough to play for Celtic and that we should get a better left back. We've now got a better left back, i.e. Kieran Tierney, and because he has had a couple of good games this season, particularly the game against Kilmarnock last weekend, suddenly everybody wants Greg Taylor to stay at the club. We'll still see whether any stories regarding Greg Taylor staying at Celtic do come to fruition, but it does appear Rodgers was kind of suggesting that there weren't any new extra contracts for Taylor to consider, and that the original revised second offer is the one that remains on the table. However, moving on to the predicted lineup for tomorrow's game, the team I think Celtic will line up with is Sinisalo in goals, back four of Alistair Johnston at right back, Cameron Carter-Vickers and Liam Scales as the two centre-backs, although I personally would go for Austin Trusty. However, I'm pretty sure that Rodgers will go again with Liam Scales, even though I think he was Celtic's poorest performer last week against Kilmarnock. At left back, Greg Taylor clearly deserves more than a chance to keep on going at left back. I think his performance against Kilmarnock was great. Didn't have much defensive duties to do, and I suspect that will be the case again tomorrow. And so hopefully he can be the same level of force in midfield and the final third as he was against Kilmarnock. Central midfield, in the deeper zone, Kyle McGregor with Rio Atati and Arne Engels just in front of him. I think he's going to go back to Nicholas Kuhn on the right wing, maintain Dijsselmeide on the left wing, and continue to play Adam Ida through the middle. Adam Ida got himself in a wee bit of trouble on Wednesday evening. All the Celtic players were given Wednesday and Thursday off, and it would appear that Adam Ida maybe got things carried away in terms of his midweek celebrations and maybe had too much to drink. And unfortunately, that was caught by someone on a camera and shared all over social media. However, for me, the important things were all the players had a couple of days off. Thus, it wasn't as if he was just about to play against St Johnstone the next day. I think players are allowed to metaphorically let their hair down and be real human beings, and I'm sure that Adam Ida was one of many hundreds of young men and young women who overindulged in alcohol and food on a celebratory midweek night out. So I think we'll just move on, recognise that Adam Ida was on a day off, and let's not make any fuss about it. In terms of a predicted result for tomorrow, I don't see Celtic making the same mistakes that they did a couple of weeks ago when we lost 1-0 in Perth. I think Celtic will be better prepared, more fired up. I think also the Hampden Park pitch will be 100 times better than McDermott Park was a couple of weeks ago in Perth. This will allow Celtic to do their quick passing, their quick movement, and allow the passes to get to the player they're supposed to be rather than bobbling off. So I think Celtic will win 3-0 tomorrow. I think Celtic need to get off to a good, strong, confident start, get on top, don't give away any silly early goals, as has been a factor in our defeats to St Johnstone, Hibs and Rangers over the last month or so. Get off to a good start, keep them from scoring early, and pile the pressure on and on and on. And I think Celtic will have too much firepower and too much quality up front and in midfield. And so I'm predicting a nice comfortable 3-0 win. Moving on to the stats for Celtic and St Johnstone. All time, Celtic have 41 wins, 8 draws, and 5 defeats to St Johnstone in all competitions. Looking at games between Celtic and St Johnstone in the Scottish Cup, Celtic have 7 wins and 1 defeat, and that defeat was in 1936. So we're talking 89 years ago since Celtic last lost to St Johnstone in the Cup. Brendan Rodgers has a perfect record of games at Hampden Park. He's never lost a game at Hampden Park. There's been 7 finals and 6 semi-finals. He's won every single one of them, although 2 of those, the Rangers League Cup final and the Aberdeen Cup semi-final from last year, both went to penalties after a draw in normal time and extra time. In both cases, Celtic won on penalties. But Rodgers has a perfect 13-0 win record at Hampden Park, and I'm pretty sure and confident that will carry on tomorrow. Looking at the last time Celtic played St Johnstone in a Scottish Cup match, that was back in March 2020. That was a 1-0 win for Celtic with a goal by Ryan Christie, although it was also claimed by Christopher Jullien. The last time Celtic played St Johnstone in a semi-final was the League Cup semi-final in 2021 in November, when a James Forrest goal beat St Johnstone 1-0. And the last time Celtic played St Johnstone in a Scottish Cup semi-final was back in April 2007. And that game was won by Celtic 2-1 with both goals by Jan Vennegoor of Hesselink. So just thought I would put in the little goal clips for those 3 matches just to give us some nice happy memories of Celtic against St Johnstone matches in the Cup and in the semi-finals. And then after that, just do a wee bit of a general roundup to finish off the video. hopefully you enjoyed those wee memories of Celtic against St Johnstone Cup matches of recent times. And as I said earlier on, very much expecting Celtic to win nice and comfortably, and I'm going for a 3-0 win. Looking at all the various different Celtic sites, sports sites, football sites this morning, no major Celtic news, no real progress on any players coming to the club, no real progress on any players leaving the club, and no real other stories to cover. And so we'll finish things off at that point there. Just as we go, a wee polite suggestion, encouragement for those not yet subscribed to the channel, please do click that subscribe button. If you have liked the video or liked the channel, please do click that like button. It does help so much with analytics and spreading the channel and spreading the good news of Celtic Football Club. And do feel free to pop your own thoughts into the comment section. Any predicted teams, changes, any predicted scores, and any other thoughts on Celtic issues at the moment. My plan is to do a post-match review video after the Celtic St Johnstone match, probably going to be on Monday morning rather than Sunday evening, but we'll see how things go. And so until the next video, goodbye and hail, hail.